Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Whose picture is this on the screen? Up here. Who knows? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Try again. Rupa Goswami. Yesterday was the disappearance day of Rupa Goswami. And yesterday was in an airplane. So today we're going to honor Rupa Goswami briefly. And I skipped many things because there's many nice writings about him in reference to his position in relation to attaining Vrindavan, residence in Vrindavan, the eternal abode of Krishna in Vrindavan, the essential personality. I'd like to begin with the Mangala Charana prayer of the various prayers that we recite regularly. The first one on our list is to Rupa Goswami. We can say it together. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhotade Vayam Rupa Gadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet. Intimately connected to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we're going to hear some further explicit statements by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about his empowering Rupa Goswami to do exactly this. And intimately connected is Rupa Goswami with Radha Krishna. According to Gaura Gunadesh Dipika, this is a book by Kavi Karnapur. It's basically a who's who in Gaura Lila. Who are these personalities in Krishna Lila? Rupa Goswami is described as the gopi named Rupa Manjari. Rupa Manjari. Rupa Manjari is the number one amongst the many Manjari assistants of the gopi. Each of the principal gopis have many Manjaris. The chief amongst the gopis, the associates of Srimati Radharani. The chief amongst the Ashtasakis, Lalita, and Rupa Manjari is the chief assistant of Lalita. And so intimate is Rupa Manjari with Radha that sometimes she directly guides, comforts, and consoles Radha. We'll see in a moment. Rupa Goswami writes in Padyavali. So these are the dates of his life. And in the photo is a photo of his deities at Radha Kund. He had deities he worshipped for the time that he was residing at Radha Kund, of deities of Radha Govinda. This is their photograph. You'll see their photograph again. They're very beautiful deities, very merciful deities. And on the left side is a small image from a larger image we'll see shortly also, where Rupa Goswami, under a Kadamba tree, those flowers on the tree, there's Kadamba flowers, wrote Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu at Ter Kadamba, nice place. We'll see some more about that place. Here's a description of Rupa Manjari. In Goloka Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani is lovingly served by 8 principal gopis, of whom Lalita Saki is her dearest friend. These intimate maid servants of Srimati Radhika are assisted by 8 main manjaris with Sri Rupa Manjari being the leader. They pleased the sweet divine couple by carrying messages, preparing tasty beverages, stringing fragrant flower garlands, offering betel nuts, decorating the kunjas, fanning, and making life very sublime for the pleasure of the divine couple. There's a very beautiful painting of Rupa Manjari consoling Radha. Rupa Manjari consoling or instructing or encouraging. She's very bold. Lalita's very bold, and Rupa Manjari is very bold too. My dear, love-blinded friend, Radha, you have already sold yourself and all your beauty to Govinda. Now you should not be bashful. Please look upon him cheerfully. One who has sold an elephant to another person should not make a miserly quarrel about selling the trident which controls the elephant. Now, that's a verse composed by Rupa Goswami, found in Padyavali, where he, Rupa Manjari, is speaking to Radharani. The trident which controls the elephant is Radha's love for Krishna. So don't be shy. Exhibit your love for Krishna, for Govinda. You've given yourself already. Don't control valve, let the trident which controls the elephant, use it. Let Krishna know you're in love with him. Here's something written by Kavi Karnapur, the same as the author of Govinda Lilamrita, the same author as Gauragonda Deshtapika. This is his writing. Srila Rupa Goswami, whose dear friend was Swarup Damodar, was the exact replica of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was very, very dear to the Lord. Being the embodiment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love, Rupa Goswami was naturally very beautiful. He very carefully followed the principles enunciated by the Lord, and he was a competent person to explain properly the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expanded his mercy to Srila Rupa Goswami just so he could render service by writing transcendental literatures. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms twice, described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that he, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, directly empowered Rupa Goswami to do the writing that he did. Of course, can go without saying so, but he explicitly says so. Prabhupada revealed that the title of his magazine, which he started, by the way, before he came to America, he started in 1961, 62, and then it stopped, and then he revived it when he came to America. Back to Godhead magazine, Prabhupada said, in a class in Los Angeles in 1972, this phrase, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati, it's from Rupa Goswami's writings, and it's the message that he used for the Back to Godhead slogan, to be absorbed in the mellow taste of executing devotional service to Krishna. Here's the whole verse. It's from Padyavali, but it's Rupa Goswami's verse. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Pavita Mati Kriyatam Yadi Katopi Labhyate. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. It can be attained only by paying one price, Logan. The intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. So we're going to explore a little bit the life of Rupa Goswami, starting their first meeting when Rupa Goswami was 35 years old. And they met in Allahabad, in Ramakeli. Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, we're going to see some further details. They were in the government of Nawab Hussain Shah. They were conscripted to do that service. Conscripted means the Nawab gave a choice. Either or. Either you work for my government, or I'll torture all the Vaishnavas in my kingdom. Think about it. Of course, they didn't want either, but they took service in his government. And they were, at the same time, they were Vaishnavas. So they were absorbed in Krishna Bhakti. Before they met Chaitanya, they were absorbed in Krishna Bhakti. And when they heard of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while they're living at Ramakeli, they wrote letters. They had privileges. Wrote letters means they sent a messenger, and the messenger went to Puri and delivered the message. And several letters went unanswered, but one answer came back. It was in a little bit of a mysterious code. Mahaprabhu replied, "Become just like a wife who is attached to another man and will perform her worldly duties to her husband very nicely so he doesn't suspect. But in her mind, she will always be thinking of the other man, waiting for the chance to meet him." So they knew what that meant. It meant carry on with your duties with Nawab as if that's your life and soul. Meanwhile, internally, so this is before they even met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's the internal cultivation of anticipating a meeting. This is Brajabhakti, but he's training them already. So before they became in the service of the Nawab, Dabir Khas, this Rupa Goswami, was his personal secretary. And as the personal secretary of the Nawab asked him, "Who's this Hindu mendicant that has thousands of followers traveling with him?" He went right to Ramakeli, and he wanted to know, who's this person? And Rupa Goswami's answer, "The Supreme Personality of Godhead who gave you this kingdom and whom you accept as a prophet has taken birth in your country due to your good fortune. This prophet always desires your good fortune." In other words, you've got an enemy, don't worry. "By his grace, all your business is successful. By his blessings, you will attain victory everywhere." So here's a little bit of the history. Rupa Goswami's father, as Rupa and Sanatana Goswami's father, had been the private secretary of the prior Sultanate of Bengal, another Muslim, Jalaluddin Fateh Shah, until 1487, when he was assassinated by one of his own guards. And then Nawab Hussain Shah took over. The Mughal Emperor soon thereafter took over. Conscripted into Nawab's service, Dabir Khas became his personal secretary, equivalent to being Prime Minister. And Sakra Malik, that's Sanatana Goswami, became chief minister. And Anupam, the third brother, became the state treasurer. But they were trusted people. They're important people. They're people that the Nawab counted on. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Ramakeli and the Nawab wanted to know who he was, it was arranged that a private meeting at night would take place where they could meet. So in a private place at Ramakeli, they came and met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and explained things. They're falling at his feet, begging for his mercy. So he had come, in addition to writing the letter, he now had come all the way. And when he came, it had said he came with thousands of followers. And according to Bhakti Ratnakar, he then requested through Haridas Thakur, the Lord taught forbearance, through Rupa and Sanatan, he taught humility. It was hard for them to say, the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with the starting Trinadapi Suruchi. Here's their words found in Bhakti Ratnakar. Sir, we belong to the lowest class of men, and our associates and employment are also of the lowest type. Therefore, we cannot introduce ourselves to you. We feel very much ashamed standing here before you. Dear Lord, let us inform you that no one is more sinful than us, especially nor is there any offender like us. Even if we wanted to mention our sinful activities, we'd immediately become ashamed, and what to speak of giving them up. Dear Lord, you've incarnated to deliver the fallen souls. You should consider in this world there's none so fallen as us. We're millions and millions of times inferior to Jagai and Radhai. We are more degraded, fallen, and sinful than they. Actually, we belong to the caste of meat-eaters because we're servants of meat-eaters. Indeed, our activities are exactly like those of the meat-eaters. Because we always associate with such people, we are inimical toward the cows and brahmanas. Due to our abominable activities, we're bound by the neck and hands and have been thrown into a ditch full of abominable stool-like objects of material sense enjoyment. Pretty extreme, right? But that was their move. And at least this is the record of how they expressed themselves. Wise men, this is not their speaking, this is speaking about their humility. Wise men define dainya, or utter humility, as the state in which one always thinks oneself exceptionally incapable and low, even when endowed with all excellences. Dainya, as its most exalted manifestation, comes forth when prema, pure love of God, reaches full maturity. It's not saying that they're at the stage of prema, but they certainly attained it. And beyond the mundane type of humility, it's a transcendental one that arises when one receives the Lord's favor. When utter humility, or dainya, fully matures, prema unfolds without limit. So we see dainya and prema acting in a relationship with each, which each is both cause and effect. Both come first. And they both come together. Prema and humility. Extremely important characteristic. This is a statement from Brihad Bhagavatam. So, that very visit at Ramakeli that evening when they met privately, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave them Diksha. I don't know of any other specific reference that says that he gave Diksha. But this is specific. From this day, your names will be changed to Srila Rupa and Srila Sanatana. Now please abandon your humility, for my heart is breaking to see you so humble. You have written several letters showing your humility. I can understand your behavior from those letters. And that's why he can't go first. They're his eternal associates. But they had such love for him already. And he gave them Diksha. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes on. I really had no need to come to Bengal. But I came anyway, because he's heading from the eastern side in Puri to get to Vrindavan, which is northwest. No one knows my purpose, and so people ask me why I have come to this village of Brahmacharya. I'm very glad that you have come to see me. Now you can go home. Do not fear anything. You have been my servants in life after life, so Krishna will deliver you very soon. After saying this, the Lord placed his hands on the heads of Rupa and Sanatan, and they immediately took the Lord's lotus feet and placed them on the heads. Next description. Again, he then requested all of his associates by name mentioned here. Nityananda was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Haridas Thakur, Srivas Pandit, Gadadhar Pandit, Panditata, Jagadananda Pandit, Murari, Vipeshwara Pandit, and his other associates. He asked them, give their blessings, so Vaishnava blessings in addition to his own. So that was it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. Well, there was some discussion between Sanatana Goswami. You know this last time, right? He gave Sanatana Goswami just received Diksha, and now he's going to give some advice to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the personality of Godhead. That's how intimate these brothers were. Two things. He said, it's not a good idea to go to Vrindavan with thousands of followers. Not etiquette. You should go alone as a sannyasi, or at most with one assistant. And the other advice was, Nawab was a madman. Right now, he's having regard for you because of how Rupa has spoken to him. That he's a madman, he can do anything at any time. I fear for your safety. You shouldn't stay here. Best to leave immediately. The next morning, Mahaprabhu left and went back to Puri. And that left Sanatana and Rupa and their third brother, Anupam, ready to follow Lord Chaitanya's instructions. So the plan was, you all know this, Sanatana Goswami remained behind, and then the two brothers, Rupa and Anupam, left. Now, they were extremely wealthy. They were so extremely wealthy that a boatload, this nice painting, the boatload full of coins, was taken back to their ancestral home, Chandradweep, and distributed in the classic fashion, 50%, 25%, 25%. For emergency, 25%. For their family members, 50%. Family members for Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, 50%. Family members, 25%. Emergency, 25%. Then, Rupa Goswami continued straight away to catch up with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They met in Prayag. The Dashashvamedha got very celebrated place in Prayag, at the bank of the river. And for 10 days, he received instruction in the Chaitanya Charitamrita is known as Rupa Shiksha. So all of that, Rupa Shiksha, is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Very nicely compiled. And during that exchange, much was discussed about the science of rasa, bhakti rasa, and Mahaprabhu gave an explicit instruction for Rupa Goswami to write what he had heard and compile Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu. There's a nice painting with her by the side of the Shashtra Megabat. This is text. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught Srila Rupa Goswami the ultimate limit of the truth about Lord Krishna, the truth about devotional service, and the truth about transcendental mellows, bhakti rasa, culminating in conjugal love between Radha and Krishna. Finally, he told Rupa Goswami about the ultimate conclusions of Srimad Bhagavatam. What has that been like? But he was a fit recipient, and he was preparing him to carry out his work, which was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would teach Rupa Goswami. Right. During that conversation, Mahaprabhu taught Rupa Goswami all the conclusions he had heard from Ramananda Roy, and duly empowered him so he could understand them, and write them, those two. Imagine hearing a Bhagavatam class from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the conclusive truth of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, all these truths, and you understand it completely, and you understand you're mandated to write it, you have the power to do so. Goswami is very special. According to Chaitanya Charitamrita, by entering the heart of Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered him to ascertain properly the conclusion of all truths. He made him an experienced devotee whose decisions correctly agreed with the verdict of the disciplic succession. Thus, Srila Rupa Goswami was personally empowered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, we heard the same thing, Kavi Karnapur wrote that in his writing. Same understanding. These are the understandings shared by the contemporary Vaishnavas of that intimate relationship. So intimate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Here's another verse. This is very nice. Indeed, Srila Rupa Goswami, his dear friend was Rupa Damodar. This is that phrase. Was the exact replica of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was very, very dear to the Lord. Being the embodiment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love, Rupa Goswami is naturally very beautiful. He very carefully followed the principles enunciated by the Lord, and he was a competent person to explain properly the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expanded his mercy to Rupa Goswami just so he could render service by writing transcendental literatures. During this time that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was with Rupa Goswami in Prayag, it just so happened that Vallabhacharya also came to Prayag, and Vallabhacharya came to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Rupa Goswami and his brother Anupam made themselves scarce because of their humility. And Vallabhacharya wanted to know, who are they? And why are they doing like this? And they said, we are lowly untouchables, you should not contaminate yourself by touching us. They then sat down at a certain distance. He was moved by their humility, and there were some discussions which took place between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and several other things happened. And at some point in time, the two separated. Rupa Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were separated. But he gave them an order. Your duty is to carry out my order. Later you can go from Vrindavan to Jagannath Puri through Bengal. There you will meet me again. So there's the feeling of separation. Rupa Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. And he followed his instructions. He went to Vrindavan, but not for too long. He stayed for 1 month. Then he went to Puri with Anupam. In the course of their travel, Anupam died. Doesn't say the cause. And when they reached Puri, for another 10 months, every day, Rupa Goswami was staying with Haridas Thakur, very humble place, some distance from the temple. He also, Rupa Goswami, felt in this humility he could not enter the temple, as Haridas also felt. But 10 months, detailed instructions. And in the course of that travel, very nice, maybe you know the story. In the course of the travel, Rupa Goswami was composing a book in his mind about Krishna's pastimes. Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's pastimes. And when he reached a place where it was Satyabhamapur. Satyabhamapur is a place in Orissa. And in his dream, Satyabhama came and told him, not one Brahma, 2 Brahmas. Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, Krishna's pastimes outside of Vrindavan, 2 Brahmas. Satyabhama instructed him. So, in his mind, he didn't share this with anybody. But in his mind, he decided he would make these 2 Brahmas. And so one is the Rita Madhava, and all this is discussed in the introduction to this drama. This is Krishna and Radharani and Vrindavan. This is the Satyabhamapur dream. Write a separate drama about me by my mercy, given the extraordinarily beautiful. So that is Vidagdha. And in the Vidagdha Madhava, this is quoted also in Panyavali, collection of different writings, but this celebrated verse about the chanting of the Indian words. I do not know how much nectar the 2 syllables Krishna have produced. When the holy name Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. Even there are many, many mouths. When that name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many millions of ears. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all the senses become alert. And this, just sharing, this is a meditation that I often find myself engaged in and chanting japa. First comes the Nandamana, then comes making the sound, then comes hearing the sound, and then comes the sound goes into the courtyard of the heart. That's meditation. And when the sound goes into the courtyard of the heart, the mind becomes conquered, and the senses become clear. It's very nice. It's a nice meditation. I mean, Rupa Goswami's meditations are otherworldly. So we hear in Chaitanya Charitamrita, while in Jagannath Puri, every single day Mahaprabhu and Govinda, his personal servant, take Rupa and Haridas first with remnants of Chaitanya. During Rath Yatra, it was a common experience, a well-known experience, that Mahaprabhu recited a verse that nobody could understand. And here's the verse. That very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of the Malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are flowing from the Kadamba flowers. In our interrelationship, I am also the same lover, and yet my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place in the bank of the Veda, under the Vedasi tree. That is my desire. Now that's the unknown author verse that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited, and no one can understand it except Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami wrote a companion verse on a plantain leaf and stuck it in his roof at the place where he was staying. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to see him, but he had gone to take a bath and he saw the leaf sticking in the roof, and he read it, and he was astonished. How did you know my mind? But here is Rupa Goswami's companion verse. My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. This is when the resident of Vrindavan and Gorakhpur and Austin all met together on the occasion of the stay for several months. As Radha meeting again with Krishna in Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but still, I would like to go to the bank of the Yamuna beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of a sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of the Vrindavan. So that what sounded like a movie cinema song, a lover pining for his beloved, or her beloved, it was Radharani feeling loving separation from Krishna. Meeting, but it's not the same. It's wanting the mood of Vrindavan, not the mood of Kurukshetra. Horses and clamor, so much confusion. She wanted the simpleness and sweetness of Vrindavan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being very astonished, then explained to Govinda, I was so pleased with Rupa Goswami that I embraced him and bestowed upon him all necessary potencies for preaching the Bhakti cult. Now this wasn't to Govinda. It was to Ramananda Roy, who was astonished to understand how well Rupa Goswami understood his mind. Lord Chaitanya confirmed. He knows all these things because I empowered him to know all these things. Here's Lord Chaitanya seeing that verse that Rupa Goswami had written. In the background, there's the dome of the temple, and in the foreground, that's the thatched roof of the little place where Rupa Goswami was staying. Here's the verse. Again, Lord Chaitanya confirmed, I thereupon also bestowed upon him my transcendental potency. Now you all should give him instructions, in particular, instruct him in transcendental knowledge. Now this was another circumstance where Lord Chaitanya had invited Rupa Goswami to explain some of the verses, but he wouldn't speak. He said, I heard you, Moses Ramananda Roy was with him. I heard you composing some drama. Ramananda Roy said, could you give us some of the verses? Give the introductory verse. Rupa Goswami wouldn't speak. He insisted, don't be shy. You're composing some drama, people will hear it. Give tell this verse, tell that verse, tell this verse, tell that verse. And he was astonished at the elegance and eloquence of his writing. And at that, this is when Lord Chaitanya said this to Ramananda Roy and the other devotees present. So for 10 months he remained in Puri with Mahaprabhu, who instructed him thoroughly. Rupa Goswami left Puri only 10 days before Sanatana Goswami arrived. 10 days because Sanatana Goswami had come. Also, almost 1 year after he went to Vrindavan. And then Rupa Goswami went north. He went to the same ancestral home where he had taken that boatload of gold coin, spent time with the family members, and distributed the funds in a proper manner, and then returned to Vrindavan where he stayed for the rest of his life. So how important was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Rupa Goswami and vice versa? How important was Rupa Goswami to fulfill the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Here's a nice verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, again describing the glories of Rupa. Before the creation, this is the chapter where the instructions in Puri are described. Bhajam, chapter 19. Before the creation of this cosmic manifestation, the Lord enlightened the heart of Lord Brahma with the details of creation and manifested the Vedic knowledge. In exactly the same way, the Lord, being anxious to revive the Vrindavan pastimes of Lord Krishna, impregnated the heart of Rupa Goswami with spiritual potency. By this potency, Srila Rupa Goswami could revive the activities of Krishna in Vrindavan, activities almost lost to memory. This way, he spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Now, from that time when Rupa Goswami was living in Vrindavan, everything literally was forgotten. The pastimes were forgotten, the places of pastimes were forgotten, the deities were forgotten, everything was forgotten. So it's kind of lost. And today it's quite different. But besides the places, the writings of Rupa Goswami are still the topmost light that inspires many, of course there's many others that lived in Vrindavan, but Rupa Goswami is the chief amongst them. By Bhakti Rasa, one's original dormant Krishna consciousness is spontaneously awakened. This is the essence of the idea of Bhakti Rasa. Here's a very nice example. Here in the painting we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu running with his arms stretched along the shore of the ocean. He saw a sand dune, but he didn't just see a sand dune, he saw Govardhan Hill. And on the side of Govardhan Hill he saw Krishna. So he was running in madness to embrace Krishna on the side of Govardhan Hill and fell unconscious. There the devotees with their dandas running behind him, they couldn't keep up with him. He was moving so swiftly. And it's described. We learn from the diary of Govinda, the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that prior to returning to his manifest eternal pastimes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained overwhelmed in a highly inflamed mood of separation. At that time, Mahaprabhu's two intimate and eternal servitors, Shukra Damodar and Ramananda Roy, would try to pacify him by singing verses that were relevant to his mood. And while moving along the side of the ocean, once Mahaprabhu was sitting with his devotees on the shore of the ocean, hearing Krishna Katha, seeing the desire grove of trees lining the shore of the ocean and the sand dunes, remembrance of Govardhan Hill and the Jamuna River with the many beautiful gardens and groves situated on her banks sprang up inside him. He then began weeping in separation from Krishna. When his excitement subsided and he became peaceful, he instructed the assembled devotees in a soft, sweet voice. Srila Rupa Goswami then wrote Sri Upadesh Amrita verses based on these instructions. Pretty amazing, huh? Did you catch that? This is some history of how this book, Nectar of Instruction, how important was it? I mean, it's a little skinny book, but it's very foundational to understand the stages of bhakti. Favorable, unfavorable, etc., etc., etc. Coming from an instruction that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to many devotees, but Rupa Goswami could understand it, could summarize it, could write it, and many, many commentaries have been written about this nectar of devotion, nectar of instruction. And this is just an example of how the books were written. Here's something that Prabhupada said about studying the writings of Rupa Goswami from 111 Bhagavatam. Within the past 500 years, many erudite scholars and acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Vallabhacharya, and many other distinguished scholars, even after the time of Lord Chaitanya, made elaborate commentaries on the Bhagavatam, and the serious student would do well to attempt to go through them to better relish the transcendental messages. Here's some of his writing. 16 principal books. I'm not going to read the list. They're nice books. According to this description, the two books, the Lita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava, took 18 years and 23 years to complete. He kept working on them and working on them. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we know as Nectar Devotion. Its companion, it goes even more esoteric and details Ujjvala Nilamani as a companion literature, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Laghu Bhagavatamrita, BBT has published it. It's just a description of the avatars of the Lord, that thick, with commentaries. Anyway, all of these are wonderful. 16 titles, smaller books, Upadesh Amrita, Namastaka, Siddhanta Ratna, Abhya Kaustubha, a total of 100,000 verses. And these are foundational for our devotional lives. The Govardhan Astakam of Rupa Goswami has a certain meter. That's another very wonderful writing. Now, many devotees like Govardhan Hill. They like reciting the Govardhanastaka, and the meter is Mata Madhurya, Mayura, which means an intoxicated peacock. But the meter is very suitable for its pastime, or the taste of Govardhanastaka. Here's a sample of Rupa Goswami's handwriting. Nice story. I think I'm going to try to end quickly because of time. There's so much nice to say about Rupa Goswami. The painting shows one young village girl coming down the path. Rupa Goswami is beneath the Kadamba tree, the Ter Kadamba. And he realized that this particular day was Sanatana Goswami's birthday. He was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to make something nice for him? So lo and behold, just he didn't say anything to anybody. Down the path came a young girl who brought some ingredients for him to use for making sweet rice. And he asked, who are you? She said, I'm from a nearby village. And there was a wedding. The village people said, take some of these ingredients and give them to Mommy, so I brought them to you. I have to go now, it's time for milking the cows. And off she went. I thought, how wonderful. I can now make a nice offering. So Ter Kadamba is not far from where Sanatana Goswami also had a bhajan kutir at Pavan Sarovar. Pavan Sarovar is a lake, Sarovar, at the base of Nandagram. So where Nandagram is not far from where Rupa Goswami is, or was, at Ter Kadamba. So he made the sweet rice and brought it to Sanatana Goswami. He said, here, this is your birthday gift. He said, oh, very good. How kind of you. And started taking the sweet rice. And as he was tasting the sweet rice, he was feeling ecstasy. And he said, where'd you get these ingredients? And he told them the story. And Sanatana Goswami said, wait a minute. I know about all the weddings and all the festivals and all the family affairs in the nearby villages, and there's no wedding. Tell me about this girl. So as he was describing the girl, he realized this is Radharani. Because you had this desire, Radharani was fulfilling your desire. And this is not very good, because now I'm taking service from Srimati Radharani when we're supposed to be serving Radharani. But the sweet rice is so good. Celebrated story. It's said that when Rupa Goswami would write, sometimes some mood of separation would be the description, and the leaves would fall from the tree. And sometimes something of ecstasy, and the leaves would suddenly reappear. In other words, his moods were very strong, and even the tree would experience those moods. Ter Kadamba is said to be a meeting place for Radha and Krishna, because Krishna's place was at Nandagram, Radharani's place was at Yavat, and Ter Kadamba is in between. Almost a straight line in between the two. And there's kind of like a path. So they would meet regularly. And that was the reason, one of the reasons, why Rupa Goswami liked to make that his place. This is some images of what a Kadamba tree looks like on the left, and these little Kadamba flowers are more like little round balls, different colors, and very fragrant. Unusual kind of a tree, but special kind of a tree. Kadamba tree. And there's now, today, a Kadamba grove, and if you go inside, how many have been there? Ter Kadamba in Vrindavan? A few? Okay. Maybe one day you'll all go. Maybe one day we'll go together. Maybe. So it's a very nice place. And inside, when you go inside, there's a little altar. You can see there's Krishna Balaram deities. Very small. and very powerful, very merciful. And if you look carefully, you'll see inscribed a verse written by Raghunath Das Goswami. And this verse written by Raghunath Das Goswami, Dinabandhu likes to recite. Not just at Tirkadamba, but he likes to recite it. Adadanas tanadantayar idam yache panak panak Sriman Rupa Padam Bojo Rajoham Syam Bhave Bhave. It's a verse written by Raghunath Das about Rupa Goswami. Srimad Rupa Padam Boja. The translation, taking a blade of grass between my teeth, Adadanas Tranam Dantire is teeth, Trin is straw. Taking a blade of grass or straw between my teeth, I repeatedly beg, birth after birth, I may obtain the dust of Srila Rupa Goswami's lotus feet. So he wrote this in Danakeli Chintamani, and there's another book, Mukta Charita. Raghunath Das wasn't writing many books, but he wrote the same verse that had just a slightly different ending. Sriman Rupa Padambo Jaduli Syam Janma Janmani. Same mood, same message, slightly different Sanskrit. So Raghunath Das looked up to Rupa Goswami. They all looked up to Rupa Goswami, and there's a reason, because so intimately associated with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is what it used to look like anyways, the Samadhi of Rupa Goswami. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote, the eternal associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can show themselves to us if they choose to do so. Rupa Goswami chose to exhibit himself to Srila Prabhupada when he was appealing and calling out to Rupa Goswami, please give your mercy so I can fulfill this mission impossible. Take the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu across the ocean when nobody knows it at all. Even in Vrindavan it wasn't so prominent at that time. So here's what the Prabhupada Radha Damodar expression, it's Gopal Chandra Ghosh told this history. Prabhupada told this man who was an employee of the Vrindavan Research Institute. Because from the Radha Damodar temple, Rupa Goswami had kept many of the writings of the Goswamis, and they were not being maintained as they could over time, because just leaves. And so it was donated to the Vrindavan Research Institute. And the man at the Vrindavan Research Institute had Prabhupada tell him this. Maharaj, Rupa Goswami said, don't worry about anything. Go ahead and travel to the West and preach. Just preach the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the chanting of Hare Krishna. You'll be successful, I guarantee, because I'll be right with you all the time. So Rupa Goswami, if he chooses, can make himself visible even today. So here's the statement by Gopal Chandra Ghosh. Swami Maharaj said that he had received a visit last night. In the courtyard of Srila Rupa Goswami's Samadhi, he saw three very beautiful persons. One was wearing only gopin and was chanting on large tulsi mala around his neck. His eyes were large like lotus flowers, and he was extremely effulgent. Also coming there was another personality, dressed similarly, but older and taller. Guess who that is? Sanatana Goswami, who acted very kindly to him. Behind them was a much younger sadhu, Jiva Goswami, whose beauty and sweetness were captivating. Swami Maharaj told me they were Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, and their nephew, Srila Jiva Goswami. He said that they spoke to him and gave him mercy and guidance for his writing and for the future preaching. I tried to ask more, but this is all he would tell me. So this is a little summary of the life of Rupa Goswami and how he's continuing to impact us today. This is the Kadamba tree pictured behind him. This is again his deities at the Radha Kund area. Another photograph of the same deities. Another photograph of the same deities. These are his deities in Jaipur. Govindaji deities, nice history behind them. And another day, another dress. Very close photograph of the two deities and his lotus feet. Govindaji's lotus feet. And a close-up of his face. Narottam Das Thakur, who was some generations later, he was a second generation. He was the student of Jiva Goswami, and he wrote Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. Prabhupada liked this song very much. He sang it regularly because he was also naturally a lover of Rupa Goswami. So there's a little biography in honor of the disappearance day of Rupa Goswami. So it's nice to meditate on and hear the glories of these great personalities when it comes on our Vaishnava calendar. So I'm happy that it's a day late, but still nice. Any discussion? Rupa Goswami. Here's a nice painting. Did the complaint stop? You're okay with the sound? Yeah. Okay. You have something.
Thank you, Maharaj. That's a wonderful biography of Srila Rupa Goswami.
Yeah.
So, question is like, though he is so talented, and Rupa Goswami is so talented,
Yes.
and he wrote many books, and he knows that contemporary people contribution. So obviously, when we know the contemporaries and with compared to our gels, obviously we'll get some pride because I did so much. So, but he's showed exemplary humility.
Yes.
So how that is possible?
Well, we heard it, so it's just to say it again, he had achieved prema. And when prema is there, humility reaches its maximum. But the other is, humility is the platform from which prema can arise. So they go well together. So it needs to be spiritual, not the other kind of humility. And so the spiritual humility is, before Krishna, I'm very, very tiny and insignificant. And we hear, not qualified, yet I'm being asked to do this most important service. Prabhupada's humility was the same. So, it's where how to cultivate it? Just reality. We're very tiny. Quite insignificant. And to render service to Radha Krishna, what is our qualification? Zip. The mercy of our acharyas. And if that directly comes to us, then there's our qualification, that we're recipients of mercy. And we should never forget it. That's an important part of humility. Don't forget it. quite insignificant. Should I say it again? Here's Prabhupada in New York and Prabhupada in Los Angeles told the two presidents, one was Brahmananda in New York and the other was Karandar in Los Angeles. So here's the one with Brahmananda in New York. This was just 26 Second Avenue. It wasn't a big temple yet, but they were going for a morning walk in New York City on just the streets of New York. And Brahmananda said to Prabhupada, I get so much honor and praise and recognition, and it's really hard for me to not have that go to my head. So how can I remain humble? I mean, similar question. And Prabhupada gave almost the same answer to Karandar, but he said, in the spiritual sky, the big picture of things, in the spiritual sky, there's innumerable Vaikuntha planets, each one being the residing place of Lord Narayan, and topmost among all those spiritual planets is Krishna Loka, much larger and shaped like a lotus, and all the associates of Krishna reside there. And they're all floating in the vastness of the spiritual sky. In the vastness of that same spiritual sky, in one small corner, there's a cloud of material energy called Mahatattva. And in that cloud of the Mahatattva, there's an expansion of the Supreme Lord, who's lying in the causal ocean as Mahavishnu. And from Mahavishnu, in that corner of the vastness of the spiritual sky, innumerable universes are coming from the pores of his skin. And we're in one of those universes. And one of those universes that we're in is one of the smaller of all the universes. In this whole universe, there's millions, who can count them all, planets. And one of those planets is planet Earth. And on planet Earth, there are 7 continents. And one of those continents is North America. And one of those continents, North America, is a country called the United States. And one of the 50 states in the United States is the state of New York. And in the state of New York, there's a city named New York City. And we're in New York City where there are 5 boroughs. And one of those boroughs is Manhattan. And here we are in one of the streets, Mott Street, in Manhattan, and you're asking me how to remain humble. We're quite insignificant. So he got it. He said the same thing to Karandar. Of course, the street configuration was different. Same principle. That's reality. Not only as spirit soul, we're tiny, but we're insignificant in the bigger picture of things. And whatever we have is borrowed plumes. A peacock may be proud of his borrowed plumes, but where do you get the plume from? Where do we get anything from? So when reality sets in, humility is quite natural, because we're quite insignificant, literally. Okay? Something further.
Maharaj,
Part 2.
Part 2. After listening to it, so I understood that Rupa Goswami knows all this, how significant he is, so that spiritual knowledge he already might have. Before he come and meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wrote many letters, and in those letters only he expressed his humility. So I believe he have that knowledge before he meeting.
Well, he had humility, but he didn't have the fullness of Mahaprabhu's mercy. He was a fit recipient, because he was in touch with reality, but he didn't have the fullness of the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that came later. We all have cell phones, so it has the capacity to receive signals, but supposing it's switched off. I hope yours is. So, capacity is one thing, and then receiving a signal, receiving special mercy is another thing. We also have. but we don't manifest like Rupa Goswami. Anything else?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, follow-up question from what Prabhu started. Yes, we are very insignificant when we look at the big picture, but still when we get into our own head and start thinking, then we think so high about ourselves. So how do we always stay humble?
How do you always stay humble?
Yes.
Just reality. Just do a reality check. Because it's reality. So there's the illusory energy and there's the spiritual energy. The spiritual energy is the reality and the illusory energy. So know that if you think otherwise, it's just illusion. So how do you stay in illusion instead of reality, instead of non-reality, which is your question? The process of bhakti, sadhu, starts with faith in sadhu sangha, hearing and chanting in sadhu sangha. That's how. Supposing you get off track, you have sadhus that can tap you on the shoulder and say, excuse me, you're quite insignificant. And you say, yeah, instead of saying, what do you mean? I'm quite significant. Sadhu Sangha. Your question, that we discussed in the morning class, we're going to have further discussion tomorrow. Queen Kunti is asking, excuse me, not Queen Kunti. Devahuti asks Kapil the same question, in different language, but it's the same question. It's the same answer. Sadhu Sangha. And then with Sadhu Sangha, you do Bhajana Kriya. And with Bhajana Kriya, that's hearing and chanting. That you stay involved in the hearing and chanting in Sadhu Sangha. That's how to stay. Keep always in devotee association. You playing a musical instrument, Anjali? Or conducting an orchestra? Or what's going on over there? Anything else?
Thank you, Maharaj. That was a wonderful answer.
Okay. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki.
Yes, Holiness Prabhupada Maharaj ki.